This quick screencast will be a preview of the mini booth sessions that we'll do and the talk and the hands-on labs that we'll do at Java 1 this year. And it's specifically focused on how leveraging Kubernetes for cluster management for Java developers. And in this three-part series, what I'm going to do is create 3 microservices, one with NodeJS, one with Wildfly Swarm, and one with Spring Boot. And we're going to tie this all into a CI/CD platform based on Jenkins pipeline with a handful of out-of-the-box pipelines. We'll be leveraging an open source project called Fabric8, which builds a lot of the developer tooling on top of Kubernetes. And you can use Fabric8 with any installation of Kubernetes, vanilla Kubernetes or GKE or OpenShift. And for the demo here, we'll of course use OpenShift, which is an enterprise hardened flavor of Kubernetes, complete with things like LDAP and security and role-based access control and all of the hard stuff. So to get started, we're going to come to the Fabric8 dashboard, and we're going to click on our team and create a new application. We could also import from an existing Git repo, but we're going to just start from scratch here. The first microservice that we're going to create is the Node.js front-end microservice, following the Kubernetes lab for Java developers at bit.ly/kubernetes-lab. The source code is here. And in this lab, Rafael Benavides and Edson Yanaga will walk you through the features of Kubernetes and the benefits you get from developing microservices on Kubernetes. If we click on the source code, we can see here that here's the Kubernetes lab. The front end application is a simple Node.js application. And this front end does display a nice UI into which you can add new greetings to a guest book, and then also just show Hello World, sort of an echo of Hello World. This Node.js microservice uses 2 backend microservices, the guestbook endpoint and the hello endpoint. Those are the 2 endpoints that we'll implement right now with Wildfly Swarm and with Spring Boot. So we'll start off by creating Node.js, call this front end. You can see here we could also create a Spring Boot app or Wildfly Swarm app, or from a Maven archetype, or .NET, or Vertex, or Ruby, or Go, or whatever. So let's start off with a Node.js app. Click Next for our front end. And we're going to now choose a Jenkins pipeline to which we want to attach this project. So we're going to create the source code, check it into a Git repository, and create a Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. Click Next. And remember, the Jenkins CI/CD pipelines are they're Groovy DSL based pipeline descriptions. And if we come here, the Jenkins pipeline library, and look at the different workflows. So these are curated out of the box, ready to go, ready to use pipelines. And here are all the different languages we can associate. And Node, we just picked a canary release, stage, and approve, which means we'll do a canary release into our different environments, and we'll also have an approval step for production. So if we come here, we can see the canary build is starting off. We're going to go to our Git repository now and sign in. And we see a new application has been pushed into our Git repository called front end, and it's a very simple Node.js app. But we want to build up the front end app from the Kubernetes lab. All this does is just return the hello world. Let's see. This built and we did a rolling upgrade into our staging environment. You see that it's here. There's one pod running, git commit hash right here that caused this build, and we can have a quick link to open it up, and we see that it does respond hello world. But we're not going to approve this into production. We'll stop it right here, and then we're going to check out the code here. Git clone. Very good. We will open this up in our favorite IDE. We use IntelliJ, but you can use any IDE for this. This is just NodeJS source code. We see our hello REST implementation here. We're actually going to delete it. We don't want this because we're going to implement the front end application. To do that, do front end, and this is just a quick script to help me out with the implementation. And here we see we've added our front end implementation, the front end JavaScript here. So this Node.js app will expose a couple of REST endpoints for creating messages, for viewing messages, and for just returning a hello world based on a name. But what it really does is makes a call to the back end microservices, downstream microservices that actually implement this. So the guestbook endpoint, we can see here, listens at http://service:8080/API/messages, and the hello endpoint here. We are going to change this. We're not going to use Vertex. We'll use Spring Boot here for this example, but this can be implemented with Vertex just the same. We'll call it hello world -service. So this all looks really good to go. Let's add to version control here. Do a git commit front end simple. Go ahead and push. So we just pushed the code back to our Git repository. If we would refresh here, we should see the new implementation here, the Docker file that we used. Fairly simple. The Jenkins file, which is the pipeline, the Jenkins pipeline right here, also quite simple. You'll notice here, if we have a Docker file, then we'll use it. If we don't, then we'll automatically try to generate one using the Node.js approved or certified image. So that's all good. Let's come back to our console to see our CI/CD pipelines, and we see that build number 2 is underway. And we'll give it a moment to build, and then we should see a rolling upgrade into staging with a request for approval to go into production. So I'll give that a moment to build. Here's the rolling upgrade. See the existing one, the new one, starting them up. Kubernetes is doing this rolling upgrade, as you'll learn in the labs. And once it's ready to go, Kubernetes will shut down. So it brings up the new one, and it will shut down the old one, and the new one will then be in place. If there were multiple replicas or multiple versions of the app deployed, so replica count equal 3 or something, then it would take them down one by one and bring the new ones up one by one. So that's great. The new version made it in. We can come down here, see that we're waiting for approval, and we can click this to go to the app. And we can get to the app and we're getting an error saying we can't read the messages from backend services, which we know because we haven't implemented yet. If we look here at the console, you'll see that trying to hit /API/messages is returning an error. So in our next video, we'll create the Wildfly Swarm-based application that implements /API/messages. Thanks.